Well, good morning. It's Alex here, and also have a guest joining us, and that's Natalie from Engaging Content. Feel free to share input into this session as much as you want. Oh, I've got someone else wanting to join. Let's just let them in as well. Okay, that's my note taker. So I have this crazy little AI note taker that records all the session for me as well. But great to have you with us, Natalie. Do you want a quick intro? Let everyone know who you are, where you are, and what you do.
Yeah, so I run Engaging Content based in Cheltenham in the UK, and basically I help micro businesses, service businesses who want to power up their website and get it really working for organic search, and taking them through the journey of like auditing it and sorting out their content and keywords, etc. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Great. Well, thank you for joining me. They get a bit lonely when I'm just on my own, so it's nice to have another person to bounce ideas off. So just to run through this morning, we've just what we're talking about was we're looking at actually an outbound email strategy. So this masterclass looks at the fourth phase of the Leaders Pro roadmap to more sales and more time. And just to put it into context, I'm just going to share just like my roadmap with everyone so they know what I'm talking about and where this fits in with that whole journey. So it's an art of juggling lots of windows this morning. Share screen, and we'll go to that one. So this is the roadmap that I've developed for my flagship product. So it starts with clients coming in at the bottom here, struggling to get sales out of LinkedIn. And then they end up right at the top there. They've got more time on their hands and they're getting more sales, and it's all done on autopilot. So in the previous weeks, we only just started these masterclasses back in January. So we've looked at 4 different strategies to generate prospects using LinkedIn and a couple of other little tools that I like to use. Session 2, we looked at the target audience in a bit of detail and finding out, who that might look like and what that might look like. And we went into a bit of detail there with that one. And then session 2 was priming your personal profile. So making your personal profile appear really good to that target audience. So when they click on your LinkedIn profile, they know exactly what you're about and how you can solve their problems. Really simple stuff. Last week, we looked at one of my favorite elements, which is LinkedIn outreach, and how we can kind of automate that. We looked at kind of the manual processes, and I know you're already doing a lot of this anyway, Natalie, so it'd be good to hear kind of stuff from you later on. This week, we're looking at the email outreach element. Not to be confused, there's 2 different types of email outreach. So there's the kind of the mass mailer where you're sending 1,000 emails out in one go, a specific campaign. What I'm focusing on today is looking at the kind of the 10 or 20 emails that are going out on autopilot on a daily basis, just to kind of nurture your clients. And the natural step is, you connect with someone on LinkedIn, and the natural step is to kind of follow up on email. So we look at how to build out that email sequence. And then next week, we're going to look at video content and how we can kind of really leverage video content to get more people looking at our content on LinkedIn, making it engaging, which is what you could probably input into that session quite nicely. And then the idea is once we've got people commenting and liking on those posts on LinkedIn, we can drop them into a campaign to then engage with them and start sending them into the LinkedIn automation and then the email. And and then what cements all this together is the appointment setting bit, which I use Calendly. So we look at automating that for clients, and that kind of sits in the middle of everything. So everything points to Calendly to get bookings, to get sales. So that's where it all fits in. Just a quick overview. This is the methodology. You've probably seen this one. A classic marketing funnel. We need to build awareness, get that interest, and then they go to the consider stage, they purchase, and then you retain that client. And the other one that I've got here is this flywheel model where we attract clients, we engage with them, we delight them, and then they became raving fans and they impact the next client to come to us, and it creates this brilliant circle. So going back to today's session, so far that's kind of a bit of an overview of what we've looked at. So what I found is really good results when I was starting to follow up with people. And there's some stats out there that it takes 5 touch points or 5 interactions with someone before they start to respond. So some people have been sending 3 or 4 messages on LinkedIn and they're wondering, they've given up. They're not getting people back. Until you start sending that 4th and 5th and even 6th message to them, that's when they actually reply to you and are engaging with you about what you're sending to them. And that's quite incredible. So if you start to have a the joys of technology, hey. I think we're back, but yeah, it's frustrating when you go live and that happens. You get internet glitches and things. But anyway, so yeah, what I was saying is now prospects have started to connect to us on the LinkedIn platform. They've given us their email address, and that is a natural, opportunity. And I see it under GDPR as legitimate consent. You've got something that you want to showcase to them that's going to benefit their business. So why not send them an email? Now, there's a lot of some people have a lot of emails on their LinkedIn profiles. They can have a work email address, a personal email address, and then they could not disclose their real email address, which is where they actually do business with. So there's a lot of tools out there that can obtain that email. So before we think about sending any emails to the prospect, we've got to think about, we've got to make sure the emails are going to get to them. And that's called deliverability. So it's understanding that we're going to push out 100 emails. 3 or 4 are going to bounce and some are going to succeed. And there's various reasons why email bounce. So we don't leave it to chance. There's a lot of things that we can do to prepare to ensure these emails get to the prospects. And these factors are completely under our control. For instance, the technical way an email is written and how it's built up, taking charge of that deliverability, we can minimize the risk and ensure the emails reach there. Because what we'll do is we'll go through that and I'll explain some little processes about what we do to ensure that gets there. So the first step, I should have had a slide deck here, but I'm just not going to mess around with the computer. It's feeling a bit temperamental this morning. So the first step is to make sure we've got a secondary domain. And that is vital because often people can dabble with email campaigns. They use their main domain on their email account. And the problem is it's a lot of testing, a lot of errors, and you can make it go wrong. You could send something out wrong and it'll end up in spam. And that's going to impact your main domain that you're using on a day-to-day basis with real paying clients and stuff. So you don't want to impact your actual domain. So what we always recommend for clients is order a subdomain. So for me, I've got leadeth.io. That's my main domain. I'm sending emails out of that one all the time. But for the cold email approach, what I do is I've bought another domain, leadeth.co.uk, which is, okay, it's a UK domain and it's targeted to the UK audience, but that's fine if that's your audience. And then I've actually got that domain and that's used just solely for emails. Now, different email providers can send differing amounts of emails on a daily basis. So if you've got just like a Gmail account, typically you're looking at around about 100 a day. And then if you're sending more than 100 a day, you're going to get caught out for spam and stuff like that. I've actually used Google Workspace. So that's like the premium version of Gmail, which you can link to your domain name. And Google Workspace allows you to send around about 2,000 on a daily basis. So I'll never go near that. But it's nice to know that they have that support and measurement in place. So think about your email server and make sure you're staying within those limits. So cold email, often people sending cold emails over this warm up process, and it's vital to warm up your inbox. You've just bought a new domain. You've got to warm that domain up and send a few emails out of that domain, probably for a period of, I would say over 2 weeks. start ramping up how many emails you're sending. And there's a lot of really cool software bits out there that can do all this for you. And I'm going to showcase some of those in the masterclass today. So it's very important to get a separate domain and get that, what I've just said about getting that warm-up process in place. If you just go out straight away, your domain is going to get blacklisted by a lot of email servers. So I'm going to share with you a couple of tools that I use to check how good a email's doing. So over here, we've got this one, Talos, Cisco Systems. You can actually type in your domain name here, Microsoft.com, and click search. It then searches and checks that it's checks for how many blacklists it's on and stuff like that. So this is a really good website just for checking, if a mail is reputation. So here we go. We've got reputation details and it's trusted. Okay, so we can see email volume data and other information here on this free tool just for checking email. So that's one that's called Talos, T-A-L-O-S. If you Google it, it comes up and you can just type it in, type your domain name in and check your domain. So once you've actually got that email written and set up, it's always good to send a test email message out. And there's another system I use for that, and that's this one here. This one's called mail-tester.com. And what Mail Tester does is it analyzes the subject, analyzes your domain, of course, and just makes sure it's all been set up correctly. So when you're setting up that new domain, one of the first things that you need to do is set what we call an SPF and a DMARC and a DKIM record. All these technical things get added to the domain with your hosting provider. And as soon as you add those records, that helps email servers to understand that the domain is safe, it's a safe sender. If you don't set those up, it's very risky, and it's often people send alias email addresses from a random address and it just points to another address. And the correct way to do it is to set up these SPF records and these DKIM records to make sure your email account is protected from spam things. So here we go. This is the mailtester.com. If I just take you back to the homepage, it just basically gives you an email address to send your email to. So I've composed an email just in my normal main account, just because I was testing my main account here. And then you put in the subject line, put in the copy, as you would send that cold email to anybody else. And then as soon as you've done that, it sends you to the results page. Once you've sent the email, it takes about a couple of minutes ago. I did this one 2 hours ago, and it gives you a score out of 10 in terms of how good that domain is for sending. So mine's 9.5 out of 10. And this is my main leadif.co domain, as opposed to my email alias one I did it on. Here we go. We've got a list of lots of email servers that are used all around the country, and these are blacklists. So I'm actually listed on one email server in the last 28 days for whatever reason. And it's just where people click your email and they think, oh, right, this is spam or this is not spam. So so in summary, we've looked at, choosing that separate domain for your email, which is vital. Set up an email account. Make sure you've got these SPF and DKIM records in place, and send a couple of emails manually to warm up that inbox. We're going to switch over to another tool. This is all just full of tools and things here that can help you out. So this one is called Warm Up Inbox. It costs about, £5 a month. What it does is it automates the process of getting your email account warmed up for you. It actually sends a subject, sends a random email to another user who's also needing an inbox warmed up. So it's basically automating the process of sending genuine emails that are looking pretty genuine. And you can actually read those emails. They're just they don't make much sense to me when I'm to a human, but they are basically random emails that are computer generated text and things. But that warms up your email inbox. So you want to get to around about 40 a day. And as long as those aren't getting triggered into spam folders, your domain authority and score will go up and up and up. And I'm sure probably, if you've got a really good domain authority for cold email marketing, I'm sure that's going to help with your Google rankings. I'm sure it's linked. It's got to be linked if it's all in Google's algorithm, how good that domain score is and stuff. So worth looking at Warm Up Inbox. So the way it works on the Leadith side, so I've slowly been drip feeding a lot of people with what the Leadith software does and how that works. So what that looks like from the Leadith software, if you're already a client or if you're thinking about checking this software out, Leadith is basically an all-in-one tool. It's doing all the LinkedIn campaigns, it's doing all your email campaigns. It's also a CRM tool, and it's basically, an amazing tool. So the way we would do it in Leadith, we go to integrations. Computer's decided to go a bit slow. Integrations, and then we can choose either Gmail. So if we've got Gmail, or if we've got Outlook, if we're using Outlook, I think, so you've got Microsoft Exchange if you're using Outlook, there it is, Outlook. As soon as you connect those inboxes to the tool, then we can send outbound emails via the tool, as opposed to sending it through an email server software, mass mailing software like MailerLite, or some of the other ones like MailChimp, where you're using their servers as opposed to your own domain name. So within the configuration here, I've actually got multiple accounts set up. You can add as many as you like for different campaigns and different things. You might want them coming from different domain emails. And it's always good to send from different email addresses, because obviously if one gets hit with spam heavily, and that's your only one that you've been using, you need another mailbox to draw on. So if you're doing a campaign with 200 emails going out each day, it's vital to kind of split those down between multiple accounts. And there's a lot of, and the software will allow you to do that. So within this tool here, so the warm-up inbox, which I showed you earlier, we don't need to utilize that because that's actually built into the software. So we can actually turn that on, and it's doing it all for us. It's sending those emails out incrementally for us, which is fantastic. There's also a BCC address. So if you want to copy in any of the outbound emails to your CRM software, that just means you've got a full track of the conversation in your CRM software. And that's basically kind of configuring the kind of the emails. That's the one-time step. So once you've done it, you've done it. And then when you go into a campaign, so I've got a campaign here which I'm targeting marketing directors. I'm just going to edit this one just to show you. So we're talking about a LinkedIn campaign here. We're sending connection invites on automation. And on the back of that, if we're then connected with them, we send a follow-up message. And this is the next step on in the sequence. We're sending that automated email out. So for me, this is what mine looks like. We can choose the email it's going to go from. So, I mean, because I know I'm not sending more than that, 100 a day, I'm quite happy to just use my own personal email because I don't think it's going to be impacted hugely. We can specify the type of email address we want that to go to. And we can actually use if logic statements to say, right, if they've not received the work email, try the personal email. If they've not received the personal email, send the enriched email address, or send an InMail, which is LinkedIn's own email system. So we've got the subject line, thanks for connecting. So this is basically off the back of my campaign. Just a very straightforward email, just saying, thanks for connecting. Feel free to schedule a call in my diary if you want to take things further. And we can also specify delay. So if we want multiple campaigns, we can go send another email. Where is it? Send email. We can put another email a few days later in that sequence if we want. And we can just keep going and building out those email sequences here. So once that's been built, what that looks like on the receiving end. So we're coming into the tool, we've got an inbox. We can go into that inbox and we can see a stream of all the LinkedIn conversations. And then we can click over on email here and we can see, 7 minutes, he's received the first of my email sequence. And we can use data tags in those email sequences as well, like company name and obviously first name, all the usual sort of stuff to really personalize the emails. So that's kind of the email approach, what we're doing in terms of email. The other tool that I've been using to do this prior to Leadith is Apollo. Apollo is a really a lot of big corporate companies are using Apollo. It's probably geared to kind of bigger companies. It's a bit more robust in its approach. So Apollo is great if you're just looking to do email marketing and you're not wanting to do any of the LinkedIn outreach or push this into a CRM. So Apollo is basically a nice source for prospects. So it all starts up here. You go to search. And if you're familiar with Sales Navigator, it works very similar. So you can set up a persona for, so I've got one here, marketing leaders. And straight away, we've got all these profiles that are connected to LinkedIn profiles, which is fantastic. So if you're doing a LinkedIn campaign, this really helps. But the idea of Apollo is it's a lot of data sources accessing just work email addresses, verified work email addresses. It's got a credit system. So if you're a free user like me, you can get 50 free credits on a monthly basis. So I can click all of these prospects in this list here, select all 25, and I can choose to enrich those prospects by moving them into an email marketing sequence. Okay, so I can also export them as well. So exporting them and pushing them into my other leaders tool, which is often what I do, is the other way of doing it. But here we go. I'm just going to allocate all these to an existing sequence. And when we talk about sequence, this is just a email only sequence. So I've got a sequence that I've set up, and we can choose the email that I'm going to send it from and schedule any dates that we want to send it from. Boom. So that's finding the prospects. So there we go. That's 25 prospects that I'm going to target in the next couple of days, and they'll just get the sequence of systems. So we go to sequences here, and I'll just show you what that particular sequence looks like. Marketing directors. So for me, you can actually use A/B split testing if you've got a paid plan. But for me, this is a very straightforward one. I've got populate it with their first name, tired of LinkedIn marketing. And then we've got this extra tag here. And this tag adds what we call an icebreaker. So we use something that's going to really resonate with them as that introductory paragraph, and that will populate it with it. And then we go down to a more of a salesy message or a benefits or features message. And yeah, if it makes sense, what does their calendar look like? Blah, blah, blah. And then obviously also it puts in the unsubscribe link if they don't want any more from you, which is quite important as well. So that's kind of a really cool little email system. And it comes up with the stats here. We can see how many are scheduled to go out, how many have already been delivered, how many got opened, any replies or interest. This is a very new campaign. If we go to some of my old campaigns, here we go. So I've got 933 emails were delivered, 560 were open. So if you compare that to a cold outbound email approach, typically you'd see around a 4% open rate, or a really shocking open rate if you're sending from like a cold email solution, because often it gets caught in spam. Whereas doing it with my own inbox, which has been warmed up and it's ready for pushing emails out to the right people, we're seeing around about 60% open rates, and then out of them I get around about a 12% reply rate, which is pretty good. And then if you want to tag prospects as you've had an appointment from them, you can do that as well from the system here. So I got around about 11 appointments from this influencers campaign. And my actual campaign message for that one, it was basically targeting LinkedIn influencers, so finding someone influential in the industry and then scraping all the people that have engaged with that influencer and then sending them a dedicated message. So this one worked really effectively, saw really good results with that campaign. So quite a bit of information all on LinkedIn email marketing. It'd be great to kind of understand your experiences of it, Natalie, and what sort of campaigns you're running at the moment, maybe.
So head blown with all the tech.
Yeah.
So I have dabbled with some of this email stuff, checking blacklists and things like that, because the nature of what I do with websites, there's deliverability issues with contact forms. And so I do have an awareness of it, but it was quite interesting what you were saying about having a separate domain and therefore a separate email address. So I'm guessing you'd make sure that was running through Workspace rather than a Gmail, because I use Workspace for my main emails.
So setting up another spare mailbox account.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. It's just so many like hoops and things to jump through, and I guess all these little add-on costs start to really build. So it's a lot to take in. But I am definitely at the stage that I want to be doing more of the automated outreach, and the options, I think, from training recently with Richard, was around Sales Navigator and something else. So is that comparable to what you offer?
Yeah, so there's two main. Obviously, Sales Navigator gives you a huge data pool of prospects, and the benefits are, obviously, if you're paying into Microsoft, they're going to be a bit more lenient, I reckon, in terms of how the algorithm works and the number of prospects you can reach out to. I personally, I dropped Sales Navigator around about probably about 4 or 5 months ago now, and I've not noticed any impact in terms of the number of messages I'm able to send. I've just got premium because I'm actually a LinkedIn creator, so they give me premium free for 3 months, which is quite nice. But ultimately, it gives you a few more fields, but not as many fields as Sales Navigator. So as long as you've got that data source where you can find those prospects, whether that's just free LinkedIn, a Sales Navigator, or even if you've got, a free Apollo account and you're just fetching in the 50 a month, that's more than nothing. And if it's working for you, then yeah, you think about a subscription. Apollo it's not big money. It's relatively inexpensive in terms of, getting hold of a lot of good quality data. But yeah, that's the key thing. So obviously LinkedIn data is pretty good because it's quite trusted. It's very updated. People change jobs and they put that on there, and it's the first place that you get that up-to-date information. The way it works in my own tool, I'll just show you what we've got, or our equivalent of it. So we're talking about kind of filling the funnel here, which is often what a lot of people get stuck on. So we've got Prospect Finder. So Prospect Finder is basically access to 640 million different profiles that are connected to LinkedIn. So it works very similar to LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It's just that the filters are slightly different. So for me, I could go to Europe, country, United Kingdom. It's a bit slower than Sales Navigator as well, because I think it's fetching data from multiple sources. City, so if I type in London, see what comes up. Company location, so that's if their head office is located in London or whatever. Under contact info, we can say, right, have we got a personal email address? Have we got a work email address? Do we have a phone number for them? Which is quite cool. Job title, more importantly, if we're just looking for owners, maybe directors, kind of top level people, really, director. I do like marketing director and stuff like that. That's what I search for. Company information. So again, we've got industry filters. They're not amazing, but employee headcount is quite good. So I tend to target kind of the small to medium businesses. There's also a company revenue filter, so we can filter by the amount of revenue that business is doing. So the filters are a lot more limited in terms of comparing that to what we see on LinkedIn. But yeah, I mean, let me just see if I can apply these filters and actually get a search up. It's not working. It's always a bit of a pain. London. Often it's the locations that throw it out. And what we'll see is a list here of prospects. Okay, so as soon as so it's very similar to that Apollo system. So we can see the prospect. We can say, yeah, this one looks good. This one looks good. This one looks good. And then we can choose to enrich those selected prospects. And what we've got here is the work email address. We've got his personal email address, work, personal, work, personal, work, personal. So straight away for a LinkedIn campaign, obviously we've got their LinkedIn profiles because all these profiles are connected to LinkedIn. So we can connect to them on LinkedIn. We can do a follow-up phone campaign as well. So yeah, the data is not as good as Sales Navigator data, but what I'm saying is a lot of people are using this Prospect Finder to find data straight in the tool, negating the cost of Sales Navigator at £80 a month. So yeah, that's how it's done.
Okay, and so this Apollo email marketing, that would be, instead of say MailerLite or ConvertKit and all those kinds of mail, what do you call them, clients, I think they're called. Is that right?
Sorry, you've disappeared on me.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I've got you.
Okay. So my question
I think
was
it's my end. It's probably a bit glitchy.
Sorry, it was around the Apollo software. Is that instead of using MailerLite or ConvertKit?
It's a very different beast, I think. I think MailerLite is for, I think you can add your mailbox to MailerLite. Let me just log in and check. So the last time I logged in, I'm not
But
sure
I think
whether
what you're saying is Apollo has more features.
Yeah, but Apollo basically has more features than MailerLite. I think, yeah, so MailerLite has integrations. I'm pretty sure MailerLite is for your kind of your bulk email, so your mass sending. I could be wrong there. Let me just go into it. I've not been into it recently to test it. Account settings, domains. Yeah, so you can link a domain to MailerLite, and you verify your domain.
That's where I send my emails from.
But I'm not sure as it's actually an inbox and actually coming from that inbox as such. So Apollo, you're actually linking your inbox, and obviously in the Leader tool, you're linking your inbox. So it's more kind of direct mailing as opposed to a big mass mailing thing.
Okay. But yeah,
so I tend to use MailerLite or MailChimp.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
But yeah, probably if you were starting off, then yeah, just your own account is probably fine if you're just doing the low volumes, 20 a day, because nobody really gets more than 20 connections on LinkedIn. So if you're just doing it as a follow-up campaign on LinkedIn, it's probably not going to affect your inbox. It's when you whack the numbers up there and you're doing, hundreds a day, then you need to be thinking, right, I need a dedicated domain and email. Or if you're doing a real big cold email outreach and you've got 1,000 emails that you want to prospect people en masse.
So how does your tool compare to the one that Richard recommended?
It's so Richard recommends MailerLite, I believe, doesn't he?
No. The
Active Campaign, doesn't he?
No, it's sorry. You've got Sales Navigator, and then you've got that other paid tool that would do all the automation.
Expandy. Yeah,
that's it, Expandy. So how does your tool compare?
So Expandy is purely just focused on the LinkedIn side of outreach. I've not seen it been too successful with email. Email's a bit glitchy with it, but you can add an email box in Expandy. Expandy doesn't really have this.
Is Expandy sending directly into? Is it sending messages directly into LinkedIn then? It's not sending it from your email.
Yeah, that's kind of Expandy's doing it. You can again add a mailbox and it can do that. But what we're seeing is with Leadeth is a complete sales engagement tool. So we've actually got a built-in CRM, so we can actually track everything from scheduling that appointment to the phone call that you need to make. It's just doing a lot more than Expandy does. Plus, you've got the Prospect Finder tool, which is a great source for prospects as well. So yeah, it's basically just doing a lot more of the legwork.
Okay, cool. All right, well, that's really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much everything. I've covered up everything on the kind of email marketing masterclass. That was kind of just a big dump of of the important steps in consideration when creating that email marketing campaign. So yeah, I hope you found I hope there were some good takeaways there. I don't know.
There's a lot to take in. To say I'm just at this sort of researching stage of what to do, just to get so was looking at sort of Expandy and Sales Navigator, but it's I don't know how yours compares price wise. I guess it's not like for like, so I know
Yeah, I'm happy to have a conversation off the live webinar if you want to look into it in a bit more detail. But
perfect.
It's I mean, for me, it's I get really annoyed having too many different tools and too many systems, and I prefer getting one tool that can do lots and do it well and effectively. So I've kind of gone through about 3 different tools over the last 3 years, and the technology is constantly evolving, so you've got to make sure you're kind of up to date with it. So yeah, Expandy was my tool of choice about 2 years ago, but yeah, this software is does far more. So the video engagement features are one of the key things that Expandy kind of lacks on, which is why this tool works really effective from that point of view. But yeah, great to see you, Natalie, and thanks for joining on the masterclass.
You're welcome.
Next week we'll be looking at Calendly in a lot more detail and setting up automation workflows with Calendly, stuff that you've probably already done anyway. But yeah, for those guys out there that want to look to automate their appointment setting, we're going to have a deep dive into that tool. But yeah, thanks for joining.
No problem. Take care.